What is up, everybody? This is your boy, Teran Rodriguez, bringing you another edition of Set Point. And as always, we have ourselves a jam-packed show as we have a lot of volleyball to discuss, such as the men's VNL, who came out on top, and how did Poland do being the reigning champions. Also, the AVP is back in action as there is a tournament in the Rocky Mountains known as Denver, Colorado. Also, the men's Olympic volleyball pools have been released. Where did the U.S. fall and who did they draw? Also, the Pro Volleyball Federation is in full swing in terms of its free agency. Who's signed where? Who's gone? Who's left? And what has been going on with the Indy Ignite in terms of their free agency, as they are a new team gearing up for the 2025 season. Also, the U.S. women's national team had some success over the weekend with their national team going to the finals against the Dominican Republic, and their collegiate team, their U21 team, winning gold as well. Hand me a volleyball. Set for them. Summer circuit volleyball action here on Set Point. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of Set Point here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome all to another edition of Set Point. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Monday afternoon, Monday evening, Monday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you've made your way to episode 253 of Set Point. And without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, Set Point would not be where it's at without iSports Radio providing the platform to go live on StreamYard. Please do follow iSports Radio on several different social media platforms such as X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, especially Facebook, and on TikTok at iSports Radio. And we also have a website, iSportsRadio.com, for all of your latest sports news, our blog, our page dedicated to each podcast, such as Set Point, our merchandise shop where you can cop t-shirts, hoodies, even though you're not going to need that for the summer, tank tops, hats, and all sorts of iSports Radio swag. For the last 10 years, iSports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making iSports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. And check out iSports Radio in terms of its other podcast platforms that's on, such as Apple Podcast, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, Audible, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, GeoSavin. The list goes on and on. And we would also like to give a shout out to our two sponsors, Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, and Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. And without any further delay, let's get on into what those two sponsors are all about.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
That's right, everybody. Definitely check out Seal the Deal Wax Seals and Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Those two, we are very appreciative for being the official sponsors of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. And the way you can follow Set Point on social media is on X, formerly known as Twitter, at set_point.ie, and on Instagram at set_point.iesr. And I also have a Facebook page for Set Point. It's Set Point. I promise you all, I will do my best to try to fire it up by the time the NCAA volleyball season begins. And the way you can follow me personally is on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Teran Rodriguez 1. That's where I'm mainly active. And without any further delay, let's get on into that volleyball action. So we have to start off with the men's VNL Championship recap. So I'm going to be really honest. It felt really weird not seeing the U.S. when it came to the VNL Championship. I know I basically said what I need to say about the U.S. men's national team in terms of what happened in the VNL. Obviously, the week one where they just played the youngins and the actual the actual national team was in Anaheim training, and then the next 2 weeks did not go their way. I've already talked pretty much about that. So instead of just talking about the U.S. and belly aching, I'm going to discuss the other teams that partook because they deserve the recognition, and why not? So in the quarterfinals, starting off, we had Japan taking on Canada, and Japan was able to sweep Canada 3-0. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to my Canada fans. First and foremost, happy Canada Day. Unfortunately, this match did not go the way that you guys wanted it to. But I will say, Japan is such a great team. They're so scrappy. They've got lots of high-flying options. Unfortunately, it just did not turn out Canada's way. But I will say it's not the end of the world, so don't cry over spilled milk. And then we had this thrilling matchup right here. We had Poland taking down Brazil in 4 sets, which I thought was a very good matchup. That was a very good matchup. I know Brazil hasn't been the best as of late, but I will also just say Poland is the reigning VNL champion. There's a reason why Poland is the reigning VNL champion, and they were playing at a high level. Brazil did all that they could to try to take down Poland, but it was just to no avail. So there you have it right there. And then we get on into the thrilling matchups. Those were Thursday's matchups. These are Friday's matchups. We had France, the reigning gold medalist, taking down Italy in 5 sets. Now, if you remember last week's show, I talked about how Italy did not have their A team. They pretty much had their B team when it came to the VNL Championship. And I was very surprised Italy put up that much of a fight against France. But France, you remember, they're the reigning gold medalists from the Tokyo Olympics. They were not going to go down that easily. And I will say this for Italy, that's a great effort with them having kind of their B team and whatnot. But unfortunately for Italy, they just could not get the job done. Would their A team have taken down France? That still remains to be seen. France was just on a whole other level, but they did kind of look a little beatable throughout this whole thing. So we'll see. But overall, I was just impressed with France's resiliency. I mean, there's a reason why they're known as champions. There's a reason why they won the gold medal. So there you have it right there. And Ralph Cleese pops into the chat room. Thank you for tuning in, good sir. But back to France beating Italy's B team. Yeah, I kind of expected a little better from France. I knew they would win, but I thought they would do it a little bit more cleaner. But I guess Italy had nothing to lose, and everyone knew that Italy was bringing their B team. So There you have it right there. And then the last matchup, we had Slovenia taking down Argentina in 5 sets. Now, Slovenia, oh my goodness. Slovenia is the top seed when it comes to this whole tournament. And the fact that they had to go 5 with Argentina raises a couple questions. But for me, a win is a win. Argentina was basically the team that kind of got in. They were the last team that got in. They're the last team to board the bus. And they had nothing to lose. So I give them so much credit. And Argentina is such an underrated team just because they can if they get into like a 5-set match or a long set, that's where it can get ugly for that other team opposing Argentina. So I think for Argentina, they deserve a lot of credit for basically going toe-to-toe with the top seed of this whole championship round. And it just goes to show that the regular season doesn't mean squat. Once the championship round or the knockout round starts, everyone's 0-0. We don't care what you did in the pool play and whatnot. So I think for Slovenia, this was kind of their wake-up call. And the fact that they were able to outlast a gritty Argentina team shows that they're still up there. But it also shows that Argentina is no pushover. And it also shows that, again, pool play doesn't mean anything once you've made it into the championship round. So those are the quarterfinals. Jumping over to the semifinals, we had Poland and France and Japan and Slovenia facing one another. So France outlasted the reigning VNL champion Poland in 5 sets. The 5th set was a thriller. It was decided 18-16. And oh man, the battle of the gold medalists versus the battle of the reigning VNL champions did not disappoint. I was very impressed with how France was able to pull this one off. And honestly, this was kind of a match made in heaven right here. This was the match everyone wanted. This was the one that everyone was bringing their popcorn for. And this was the one that this was the match that everyone was really looking forward to. Unfortunately for Poland, they just fell short, but that's still a pretty darn good effort. They pushed the reigning gold medalists to 5 sets. I mean, something was bound to give when it came to this. Either France was going to lose, and then everyone was going to question why did they win the gold medal, or are they the same France team from the 2020 Olympics? Or if Poland was to lose, then people would say, is Poland really going to do well in the Olympics going forward? So the whole thing is we need to appreciate some great volleyball. And honestly, France did what champions do or gold medalists do. They find ways to win. Not that I'm saying that Poland didn't find a way to win, but honestly, France they just did everything possible to win. And I'm just downright impressed. Poland, again, they did all that they could handle. They tried, they pretty much left it all on the court, but unfortunately it was to no avail. And then in the other semifinal, we had Japan sweeping Slovenia. Now, when I look at it, I feel this isn't ultimately surprising just because Japan, they're a good team, but I felt they were much better than Slovenia just because Slovenia barely got out of the first round against Argentina. I feel Japan really brought their A game, and that's what teams like Japan always do against the big brother or the big bully on the campus. So I think for Japan, they really brought their A game. And I was not surprised that Japan was going to win this one. I feel Japan definitely had what it took to beat Slovenia. Now, Slovenia, my takeaway for them is this. I just felt they didn't come out with the right energy that they had. I felt that the energy just wasn't there. I felt that Japan was just doing everything offensively and defensively when it came to this matchup. And I felt Japan just had a lot more confidence, especially coming off of a straight set win over a talented Canada team. And then Slovenia, everyone had their doubts just because they barely got past Argentina. So I think for Slovenia, it's just another case of when it comes to pool play, it does not matter. Pool play does not matter once the championship round hits, just because everyone's 0-0 and there's nothing, and pretty much no one cares what you did, and everyone is beatable at this point of the tournament. And then in the third place match, we had Poland sweeping Slovenia 26-24, 25-16, and 25-17. Now, this is kind of not surprising just because, again, Poland, they obviously got pushed down. They were dethroned as the VNL champion, so they obviously had nothing left to lose. Both teams pretty much had only a bronze medal to play for. And I'm just going to say this. I was very impressed with how Poland bounced back after a heartbreaking loss. I feel Slovenia is the case of regular season does not mean anything. Slovenia was just like oh, they were just like Brazil's women's team from the VNL. They dominated really well in pool play, but then when it came to playoff time, it just did not work. So I'm not trying to say that Slovenia is not going to do great in the Olympics. I just think that they were a little bit underwhelming just because they had such a great run through pool play. But it also just shows that Poland is still up there. And I think Poland just squashed any doubt that we had when it came to them going into the Olympics. I think Poland bouncing back from that heartbreaking 5-set match. Basically, this was just a one more match for the road, just because you made it all the way to the semifinal Saturday, and you basically are in championship Sunday, and they want to give some teams one more for the road, one more match for the bronze, one more match before the Olympics. So I think for Poland, this was a great win on their behalf. And for Slovenia, I was impressed with how they did in the tournament. I was impressed how they did overall in the VNL, but I just think that they still have a little bit ways to go in order to become a true contender. And then lastly, we have the championship match where France took down Japan in 4 sets, 25-23, 17-25, 25-23, and 25-23 to win the VNL. Now, again, France won the gold medal in the Tokyo Olympics for a reason, and they really showed up to this match. Again, they won close sets, but sometimes the close sets are the best sets to win, and sometimes you just need to win that set because you need to win 3 sets. It doesn't matter how blowouty or close they are. I think you just need to win 3 sets. And that's what France did, and I was impressed with their resilience. Japan was basically throwing the entire kitchen sink and the entire house at France. And they knew they were the underdogs, but they also knew that they were coming off of 2 sweeps. Unfortunately, France, being the very talented team, they just had a little bit more juice in the tank. And I feel France defeating their opponents in 5 kind of helped them because it kind of showed that they were facing a little bit more of adversity. I mean, France almost lost to Italy's B team, and then they had to go 5 with the reigning VNL champs. And I feel France was a little bit more battle tested than Japan. But Japan, my takeaway for them is this: just like on the women's side, obviously it's tough losing in the big stage in the championship match, but they have a lot to be proud of. They have so much to be proud of, and they have so much to look forward to, just because the Olympics are really going to be a barn burner for them. I think Japan can do a lot of damage when it comes to the Olympics. And honestly, if I'm a team that faces Japan in pool play or the knockout round of the the Paris Olympics that are in a few more weeks, I'm very terrified, and I'm definitely working on my reserve receive and the floor defense, just so because Japan can really bounce the ball and they can really serve up a storm. I saw on one of their highlights that one of their players served up a very deadly ace, which pretty much just struck Eric Shoji, the libero of the U.S., which it was just strong ace. I think that's pretty much like a crime to have that strong of a serve. But overall, for France and Japan, it was a great match. Japan, unfortunately, just fell short, but they have a lot to be proud of, and I think they're still going to do great. And then France, I don't think there's any doubt with them now. I think for France, anyone that has doubt about them, well, you're barking up the wrong tree. And I think that France is going to really do great in the up-and-coming Olympics, especially since they're the host team. That's the scary thing. France is the host team, and they will be more than likely having the home crowd on their side, and they're definitely going to show up and show out and look to repeat as gold medalists. I think that'd be pretty incredible if you ask me, but they have to take it one day at a time. Obviously, the target's on their back. The noise, obviously, is going to be big for them, but nothing is big for them, especially since they're playing on their home turf, and then also they're riding high after winning the VNL, and they're the reigning gold medalists. So I think this France team is going to be very scary come Olympic time. So there's that for the VNL side of things. Congratulations again to France on winning the men's VNL, and congratulations to Japan on making it all the way to the championship match. Both teams were very well, and congratulations to everyone that made it into the top 8 or the knockout round when it came to the men's VNL. Just a well-deserved, well-fought matches by everybody, and we will see you all in the Olympics. So that's that for that portion of the show. We're going to take ourselves a quick little commercial break. When we come back, we've got some Olympic pools to break down. We may also discuss a little bit of some U.S. women's national team action as well as their U21 action. So keep it locked here. You were listening to Set Point on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all of that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hello, ladies and sinners. Hello, sports fans around the world. Hello, IE Sports family. This is Cale Henderson, the host of IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. If you folks are interested in sports in the Vegas area, if you're wanting to have a blast for 1 hour, every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, this is a show built for the Vegas sports fans, where we feature the Las Vegas Raiders, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Las Vegas Aces, and the University of Las Vegas, Nevada Rebels. Hopefully, fingers crossed, MLB team coming soon. Either way, if you folks are looking to have a blast for 1 hour each and every week, tune in Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you folks are interested in Vegas sports news, go to our Twitter at SinCities_IESR, and you can speak with me, the host, Cale Henderson, at Cale_Henderson on Twitter. At any time, be happy to reply. Always want to reach out to our fans. Again, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy, awesome white tea. They're coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Back with segment number 2 of Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, such as Sin City Sports with Cale Henderson. Cale will be celebrating his 100th show tomorrow. And also check out Gloves Off with Marcus Los Great, because he's here to give you what you want. He's here to give you what you need. He's here to give it to you in a crispy IE Sports Radio tee. Not this one, but you know what I mean. But let's get on into segment number 2 of Set Point. So the men's volleyball Olympic pools were released this past Wednesday morning. And oh man, it was something I've been waiting for. And this was courtesy of Volleyball TV. They televised the pools and what the matchups were. So starting off with Pool A, and I wish we had like a fire sound effect or a burning sound effect. But regardless, Pool A. France, Slovenia, Canada, and Serbia. All right. Well, France, we know what to expect when it comes to France. They won the VNL, and they wound up, they're the reigning gold medalists, and they have home court advantage. So it's basically going to boil down to who finishes second, because I know for a fact France, unless France is like the worst pool play ever, they should be getting out of pool play, because if I recall correctly, it's now top 2 teams make it out of pool play, because there's 3 pools, Pool A, Pool B, and Pool C. This is Pool A. France obviously is the alpha male when it comes to the whole thing. Slovenia, I think if they play like they did in the VNL Championship, I don't know if they make it out of pool play. Canada, I think, can definitely make it out of pool play. And then Serbia, I mean, I don't doubt them, but at the same time, I feel they still have a little bit of meat left on the bone for us to show. I think Canada definitely has a good shot. They definitely have a well put together roster. And Slovenia, they did so great in the VNL, but that was just in pool play. And if they want to have any shot at making it to the knockout round of the Olympics, they really have to bring their A game, and they just cannot take anybody for granted, no matter who they're facing. Because Serbia definitely can play, Canada can play, and we all know France can play. And even though France is basically on a whole other level, they just can't underestimate anybody. They just can't be sitting pretty on their pedestal, knowing that they're the greatest thing since escargot. No offense, of course. But for Pool A, we all know who's going to be coming out of Pool A, but it's just going to be a dogfight for second place. And don't be surprised if Canada does make it out. But Slovenia is going to be a tough out, and Serbia definitely can come to play. But we'll see what happens. Now for Pool B. This one might be the most brutal pool. We have Poland, Italy, Brazil, and Egypt. All right, so Poland, as we know, they've drastically improved. They got bronze in the VNL. Italy obviously didn't showcase their full team at the VNL, but their B team almost wound up advancing to the semifinals. Brazil, some people are saying that this is kind of the downfall of Brazil. I still am not fully sold on it. And then Egypt, look, Egypt is probably the odd man out when it comes to this whole thing. I really think that Egypt can definitely make noise, but the problem is that the 3 teams that they are facing in this pool, they're just light years better is a little harsh to say. I think they're just much better than Egypt overall. And that's no disrespect to Egypt, because they did everything in their power to make it to the Olympics. And since they're in the Olympics, and any team that makes the Olympics, that team is basically a legit team. This isn't the Challenge Cup where basically it's a fight for who gets into the VNL next year or who doesn't get like relegated and whatnot. But for this pool, Poland, Italy, and Brazil are probably going to be vying for the top 2 spot. And Egypt, look, as long as if someone does underestimate Egypt, first and foremost, that coach is doing a good job of preparing that team. Second and foremost, if that team is underestimating Egypt, then that is a fatal mistake. I feel Egypt can definitely be a sleeper team, but again, it's just all about which team they'll get to face. I feel Egypt definitely can have some chops, but I just feel that this pool is just a little too uphill for them. So I think for Egypt, this is where they're just going to have to really play their hearts out, and they're going to have to hope that someone slips up. But I feel that this one could go either way with the three teams that I mentioned previously. And then lastly, going over to Pool C, we have Japan, the United States, Argentina, and Germany. Now, this one might be the most toughest pool to predict. Japan obviously made it all the way to the VNL Championship, fell short to France. The United States obviously hasn't been playing up to snuff. Argentina almost took down Slovenia, the top seed in 5. And then Germany, here's my take on Germany. They definitely have what it takes to win this pool. I think, like I said, this pool is probably the toughest pool to predict, just because all 3 teams could possibly win this pool, and any of these 4 teams can make it out. So any of these 4 teams can win this pool. Any of these 4 teams can make it to the knockout round. Japan is obviously the most talented of the bunch. The U.S., again, I feel they have a lot of meat that they left on the bone when it came to the VNL and as of late. I definitely think they're a talented bunch, but my thing is they have lots of experience, but are they too, I wouldn't say old, but too aged? Like, they need that youth player. They need someone of that youth. Otherwise, they're just going to look like the Los Angeles Lakers. And that's no disrespect, but it's basically, it is what it is. We don't want a bunch of like old, I wouldn't say old guys, but just a bunch of like slowed down guys that are kind of past their prime, not basically going out there. We don't want that. Like, I'm pretty sure all U.S. fans really want the best 6 players on that court. And the U.S., I'm not saying they didn't really show that in the VNL. I'm just saying that they really need to find that the correct 6 to put on that court in the correct rotation. Because this pool is so tough. This is a whole different format as opposed to the previous Olympics. Like, this is basically just a 4-team pool with 3 matches for each team. And honestly, there's no room for error when it comes to pool play. And looking at Argentina, that's just, again, scrappy team right there. But before I continue, hit the like button. Definitely hit the like button. And for you volleyball fans out there, definitely spread the word of Set Point. Do what you can to share the show. Tell your friends about this show. Tell your volleyball friends about the show. So thank you to Davidson Crooks and whatnot. And yes, Larry B says, yes, sir. He says to hit that like button. Thank you, producer Larry. Appreciate you. All right, back to Pool C. All right, so for Japan, they're very talented. They're still beatable, but they're very talented, athletic. Their biggest strength is that they serve tough. Same with the U.S., but I feel that the U.S., they really need to figure it out. If they could figure it, and this is where I wish they had that extra week of VNL. Even if they're just playing one more match, they're basically playing someone other than themselves. They don't have a U.S. Open Cup match like the women's do against Netherlands. It's not like that. So for the U.S., they're really going to have to be on their A game when it comes to facing all 3 of these teams. They can't underestimate anybody. Argentina is a good team. Japan obviously is a great team. And Germany, that is probably the dark horse of this pool. I think that's the dark horse of the whole pool play. So I feel that Pool C is probably the pool that nobody's probably going to get correct unless you pull two names out of a hat. But I digress. So I think for the U.S., they're going to have their work cut out for them tenfold. And for everyone else, I think it's probably going to be the battle for second place. I mean, maybe the U.S. can upset Japan, but I'm not ultimately confident just because they haven't really figured it out yet. And they're still a work in progress. So we'll see what happens. But all in all, I think this is going to be a tough pool for the U.S. And then again, I think any pool would have been tough just because the U.S. is still really figuring things out. All right, but that's that for the pools. Now for the big burning question. Who do I have making it out of pool play? Well, this is definitely a tough one. And like I said, any team can pretty much make it out of pool play. But I got to be realistic. Just like I did with the women last week, I have to pick my two top finishers in each pool. So for Pool A, this one's obvious. France. My first team to make it out of here is France. I think France is definitely a juggernaut, and they're going to make other teams say sacre bleu when it comes to facing them. And I feel that France is really playing on a high level. Now, for the second team to make it out of this pool, it's really tough. I think any team can make it out of this pool, but I'm going to go with Canada. I think Canada makes it out of this pool. I feel that Canada hasn't really showed us their true best, but this is why this is the Olympics. The Olympics are what really matters. And I feel that Canada is going to pull out their true potential when it comes to this. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if they made France sweat. I think Canada, with the roster that they have or whatever roster they put out, I think they're eventually going to bring out their best, and they're going to take anyone else's best and throw it right back at them tenfold. So there's my predictions for Pool A. Pool B, I'm going to take Poland and Italy. Now, I was very hesitant to pick against Brazil, but I just feel Brazil just doesn't have that same pop that they've had in the past. Italy did the right thing by holding out some of their top guys but it also could be the worst thing just because their players could be rusty. But rest versus rust, we all know that debate. I think Italy's going to really bring out their true potential, and Poland is definitely the real deal. I don't think they are fake or anything of that sort. I think Poland is definitely the real deal, and Poland is definitely going to be a tough out for anybody. So that's who I'm picking for Pool B. And now for Pool C. This one's the tough one. But I'm going to go with Japan and the U.S. I think Japan, after seeing what they did in the VNL, after all their high-flying kills, after their booming service aces, after everything that I saw pretty much from them, I think they're making it out of Pool C. And I think the U.S. makes it out of Pool C too. Now, the U.S. really has to have their P's and Q's and T's crossed and I's dotted if they want to make it out of pool play. Just because I think the U.S. definitely has the talent. They have Micah Christensen. They have Matt Anderson, TJ DeFalco, Kyle Insting, I think, sees some playing time. But they all really have to be all in when it comes to this. The best players need to be on that court. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. John Sprout is a fantastic coach. I cannot express that enough. I'm not just saying that because he's a former Set Point guest, but he has a smart volleyball mind. He definitely he's led his teams to championships and to great success. And John Sprout wouldn't have gotten this team to the Olympics or qualified for the Olympics if he was not qualified to. Like, I definitely think John Sprout is definitely qualified to be the head coach, and I definitely think he's a great volleyball mind. It's just all about putting the correct players on the court at the correct time and kicking off all the rust. But my big concern for the U.S. is this. Will them missing the VNL championships or the VNL playoffs or the VNL top 8, whatever you want to call it, hurt them just because that's one less week of volleyball? Or will it help them just because they don't have to travel and they could just practice in Anaheim and whatnot? So it's all going to be dependent. That's a food for thought question, but I have Japan and the U.S. making it out of Pool C. And that's pretty much my... Oh, no, not this again. Sorry. Technical difficulties with the camera. There we go. All right, but those are my burning questions. Those are my teams that I have making it out of pool play. So we're going to continue on for a little bit. So the U.S. U21's women's team wound up winning gold at the 2024 NORCECA Women's U21 Continental Championship in Toronto, Canada. Once again, happy Canada Day to those that celebrate. And the special thing about this team was that they did not drop one set all tournament. To quote Cat Williams, not one. As they swept the Dominican Republic last Tuesday, 25-18, 25-21, and 25-11. They swept Suriname, 25-10, 25-5, and 25-9. That was last Wednesday. Last Thursday, they swept Puerto Rico, 25-10, 25-17, and 25-15. And that pretty much winning their pool allowed them to go into a bye. In the semifinals, they swept the Dominican Republic 25-20, 25-13, and 25-12. And then the gold medal match, they swept Puerto Rico 25-12, 25-16, and 25-16. So if you were following along to all of that, they only allowed one set or one opponent to cross 20 points once. And that was in their first matchup against the Dominican Republic. Every other set was basically won without the opponent crossing 20 points. That's big right there. I'm sorry. There were two sets that the U.S. allowed the opponent to cross 20 points. That was Dominican Republic in the semis and Dominican Republic in the first round. So every other matchup, the U.S. U21 team on the women's side did not allow an opponent other than those two sets against the Dominican Republic to cross 20 points. That's a special team right there. Mostly, I want to say most of it was comprised of like Nebraska players. Not all of it. I want to say there were like 3 players that were on Nebraska, and then Jalen Reyes was the assistant. I had to give him his props just because I interviewed him at a beach volleyball tournament one time. But yeah, this U.S. U21 women's team is very special. Very, very special. And for them to not even drop a set, let alone allow two opponents to cross 20 points anytime in the tournament is very impressive right there. So I really have to give them their props. And the fact that they brought home gold is obviously incredible. And this U21 team is definitely the future of USA volleyball. Now for the U.S. women's national team. Now, this U.S. women's national team is not the one that is comprised of like Jordan Larson, Jordan Poulter, etc., etc. This is basically comprised of like collegiate volleyball players. Now, unfortunately for them, they did not win gold, but they wound up winning silver in the NORCECA Pan Am Cup final in the final 6 in Santo Domingo. They fell to the host team, Dominican Republic, in 5 sets. Now, here's the thing about this one. First set, it was basically a blowout. Dominican Republic won that one 25-15. The second set, it kind of went from bad to worse as the U.S. lost Sarah Franklin, the reigning AVCA Player of the Year from Wisconsin, to an ankle injury. And here's hoping that she is not fully injured. Jess Music came in and she did a pretty good job. The U.S. did win that second set 25-17. The third set, the U.S. was down 22-19, but they managed to use a 6-1 run to take that third set 25-23 to lead the match 2-1. But in the fourth set, Dominican Republic punched them in the mouth, not literally, but figuratively. They won that set 25-16. And then the fifth set, Dominican Republic jumped out to an early 4-0 lead. It ballooned up to a 7-1 lead, and eventually Dominican Republic led 10-3. But credit to the U.S., they did not falter. They did everything in their power to try to come back. Well, unfortunately, the deficit was just too big as Dominican Republic won the fifth set 15-11. Now, here's the thing about this Dominican Republic versus U.S. women's national team matchup. Like I said, this U.S. women's national team was comprised of collegiate players, current collegiate players, such as Sarah Franklin, Merritt Beeson, Jess Music, Lexi Rodriguez. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. The Dominican Republic pretty much rolled out their team from that's going to be going to the Olympics. My takeaway from this matchup for the U.S. is this. The fact that their collegiate players almost beat an Olympic-bound team is incredible. Nuts, cashews, pistachios. And thank you, Drewski, for popping in. I really do appreciate you. But the U.S. team that was comprised of collegiate players almost took down an Olympic-bound team. That is incredible right there. And it just goes to show that the future of USA volleyball is in good hands. And look, and also it really sucks that the Sarah Franklin got hurt just because she's definitely a special player. And there's a reason why she was named the AVCA Player of the Year. And she hurt her ankle after coming down off of a block. She landed on her teammate's foot. And unfortunately, she just could not continue. But Jess Music came in and she did really well. So I will just say losing Sarah Franklin really sucks. And I'm hoping Sarah Franklin is back before NCAA women's volleyball season begins. But it just goes to show that the future is bright and those collegiate players are going to be ready for the pros. And I also have to give a shout out to Brad Rostratter, former Set Point guest and UC San Diego men's volleyball coach, for coaching the U.S. women's national team, which was comprised of collegiate players. That's a job well done by you, Brad, and I got to give you a Set Point salute on that whole thing. So that's going to do it for the USA volleyball portion of the show. We're going to take one more commercial break. When we come back, we've got some AVP to discuss. We've got some Pro Volleyball Federation free agency to discuss, and maybe a little bit more on the side if time permits. So keep it locked here. You were listening to Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of hockey talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your five-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
And welcome back to the final part of Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out Let's Find About DMP Sports with Mr. Mike Pat and the Neutral Zone with Adam Kornick and Zach Puplis. Without any further delay, let's get on into the final portion of the show. So we're actually going to jump to some Pro Volleyball Federation. So yesterday marked the beginning of free agency in the Pro Volleyball Federation, which I think is awesome sauce. So there hasn't been too many big splashes. There have just been players that have been re-signing. But one big notable name when it comes to the Pro Volleyball Federation that has made a big move is Reagan Cooper. She has signed from the Columbus Fury to the Omaha Supernovas, which I think it's big right there. That's such a huge signing for the Supernovas. And keep in mind, the Supernovas are the reigning Pro Volleyball Federation champions, which I think is pretty darn incredible if you ask me. And them getting a player like that, oh man, Omaha is going to be super stacked. I'm not going to call them world beaters, but that is such a big signing right there. Reagan Cooper did such a great job for the Columbus Fury, even though that team didn't make the playoffs. But she was just such a bright spot. She was one of few players that surpassed the 30 kill mark in a match last season. So I think getting Reagan Cooper is so big for Omaha. But they did have to say goodbye to a few players. They saw the departure of Betty De La Cruz, Kristina Vuchkova, Jess Shaban-Landsman, and Sydney Hilly, which is unfortunate. I'll be getting into where Sydney Hilly landed in a little bit, but those players have departed from the Omaha Supernovas. But one player they did bring back was Brooke Nunneviller, who is definitely a very talented player, and she's definitely the oil that helps the car keep moving. So there's that right there. Now for the Indy Ignite. So most people probably forgot that the Indy Ignite is going to be a new Pro Volleyball Federation team. They will be playing next year along with a team from Kansas City and a team from Dallas. Wish we could have more California teams, but I digress. For the Indy Ignite, here are some of their players that they've signed. They've signed Grace Cleveland, opposite hitter from Purdue, and Anise Havili, setter from Kansas, Sydney Hilly. Now, signing Sydney Hilly, which was last year's MVP of the entire playoffs, that's big right there. But also having Anis Havili is also kind of going to be, she's probably going to be in that second string role, but we'll see. But Sydney Hilly coming to the Indy Ignite, that's big. And then Lecator member Benet comes from the Columbus Fury over to the Indy Ignite. Blake Moeller, she'll stay in Indiana because she's also from Purdue, and she reunites with Grace Cleveland. Kylie Murr signs to the Indy Ignite. I want to say she was on Grand Rapids. She was either on Grand Rapids or Las Vegas, but regardless, she's now on the Indy Ignite. That's a big signing right there because Kylie Murr is a freaking phenomenal libero. Then you got Chiamaka Nwokolo. She reunites with Lecator member Benet as they both were on Pitt. You have Maddie Schermerhorn or Scammerhorn, who also was on Purdue. She reunites with Grace Cleveland, and she also will pair up with Blake Moeller. And then you have Carly Scott, who is also former AAVP player who played on Michigan. She was also signed. And then also Indy signed Ajani Taylor, opposite from Kentucky, which that's another big signing right there. That's a great signing right there. I want to say she was on Atlanta, but regardless, Ajani Taylor going to Indy is so big, and this Indy team is probably looking good to start off, but it's all about if they could put it all together when it comes to the entire season, because you can look really good on paper, but then when it comes to the actual matches, if you're not playing at your best, bye-bye. So there you have it right there. Also, I guess in other Pro Volleyball Federation news, Laura Bird-Kuhn is officially the head coach of the Omaha Supernovas after she was named the interim coach. So there you have it right there. And you're probably the Atlanta Vibes have also made some moves where they've re-signed players. Same with the Las Vegas Thrill or the Vegas Thrill. But for the other teams, such as the San Diego Mojo, the Orlando Valkyries, and the Grand Rapids Rise, they haven't made too many moves. And unfortunately for the Columbus Fury, they have not made any moves. And again, free agency just started yesterday. So if you're a fan of those teams that haven't made a move, don't worry. There's still plenty of free agency left. It's not the end of the world. Trust me on this one. Anyway, so that is that for the Pro Volleyball Federation portion of the show. Sorry, my eyes was a little itchy. Closing out the show, we have the AVP having another tournament. It's been a minute since we had an AVP tournament, as it's been almost 2 months since we've had an AVP tournament. But the AVP has returned, and they're heading to Denver, Colorado for the Denver Open this Saturday and Sunday. If there is a qualifier round, that's probably going to be on Friday. But this Saturday begins the Denver Open. Remember, if you win a tournament, an AVP tournament, then you basically qualify for the new AVP League, which I think is pretty cool. But for the Denver Open, here are your top 4 women's seeds. So the top 4 women's seeds are as follows. The top overall seed is Molly Shaw and Gina Yarongo. Number 2 seed is Abby Van Winkle and Savvy Simo, who, fun fact, I know her dad. Number 3, Tegan Van Gunst and Kim Hildreth are the 3 seed. And the 4th seed is Devin Newberry and Jaden Whitmarsh, the dynamic duo from UCLA, which those are some talented names. Now, you're probably wondering, where's Sarah Hughes? Where's Kelly Chang, Taryn Cloth, Kristen Nuss, Melissa Humana Paredes, and Brandy Wilkerson? Those players that I just mentioned, they're preparing for the Olympics, and they cannot afford an injury. But those are your top 4 seeds right there. I get it. Y'all are probably bellyaching a little, saying we want to see more of the talent. But once the Olympics are over, we will probably see some of the other pairs partake, like I mentioned with the U.S. pairs and Hughes and Chang and Nuss and Cloth. And then the Canadian duo in Humana Paredes and Wilkerson, they will be back. So there's that for the women's side of the AVP. Now for the men's side. So for the men's side, their pairs will consist of Taylor Sander and Taylor Crabb as the number 1 overall seed. Sean Cook and Cody Caldwell, the runners-up of the Huntington Beach Open, they're the number 2 seed. Hagen Smith and Logan Weber, they are the 3 seed. And number 4 seed is Adam Roberts and Trevor Crabb. And you're probably wondering, Trevor Crabb is. For those that are new to the AVP or that don't really pay too much of attention to the AVP, Trevor Crabb is the brother of Taylor Crabb. And if seeds hold, we could be seeing the Crabb brothers face off against one another, as it'll probably be a Crabb boiler or broiler or whatnot. It'll be a Crabb versus Crabb matchup, which I am here for. I am here for a Crabb versus Crabb matchup. Hold the butter, please. Anyway, so that's that for those top 4 seeds. I do want to make note of another seed when it comes to the men's side of things. Before I do so, I actually do want to give my take on the men's seeds. So you're probably wondering, why are the men's seeds so, so big time right there? Why do we get the big time names on the men's side as opposed to the women's side? Well, those pairs did not qualify for the playoffs, which stinks, but it is what it is, unfortunately. And the pairs that Miles Partain and Andy Benish, I want to say it's those two. Yeah, I think it's Miles Partain and Andy Benish. Those two are qualified for the Olympics, and Chase Budinger and his partner, they're qualified for the Olympics. So the reason why we're seeing these big time names, including Team Taylor Crabb, Taylor Sander, they won't be bound for the playoffs. But who knows? Maybe we'll see Taylor Sander and Taylor Crabb vying for the Olympics next year in LA, because it's going to be in LA, and we know it's going to be fire. All right, now for another notable seed when it comes to the AVP's Denver Open. So former set point guest and friend of the show, Avery Drost, is the sixth seed of the AVP's Denver Open with his partner, Jake Arrudia. So I don't know why Avery Drost is not partnered with Phil Dalhouser. The AVP goes through a lot of partners. Sometimes you will see different people or different players with different partners every certain tournament. For this tournament, Avery Drost is with Jake Arrudia, which I think is pretty cool. Avery Drost, like I said, former Set Point guest. He was on the 200th episode of Set Point, and he coached Mira Costa's boys volleyball team to a CIF Southern Section Championship and SoCal Regional Championship. We definitely want to wish good luck to Avery Drost and his partner. Not that I'm trying to shun all the other pairs out there, but Avery Drost is my former guest, and he kind of gets the Set Point treatment. So there you have it right there. But going back to the top 4 overall seeds, these are some star-studded seeds right here. I think this can go either way when it comes to any of these pairs, winning this tournament. And keep in mind, Taylor Sander and Taylor Crabb have not lost a set in the AVP this season. So Team Taylor is looking really good. So we'll have to see what happens this weekend. But that is going to do it for the AVP portion of the show. And ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this week's episode of Set Point. It's time to drop the beat, because I'm about to dip like a banana in chocolate. You feel me? Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Set Point. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I really appreciate you. Shout out to Larry B, producer and the head honcho of iSports Radio. Your work does not go unnoticed. Also shout out to Drewski and Ralph Police. I really do appreciate you all tuning in. Follow Set Point on social media on Instagram at set_point_IESR, and on X, formerly Twitter, at set_point.IE, and also follow it on Facebook. I'll definitely try to fire up that account real soon, especially since in 9 more days I'm going to be at the USA Cup between the U.S. Women's National Team or the Olympic team against Netherlands. So definitely keep that in mind. Keep your eyes on that. I will be back on Friday for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. But until then, for everyone here at iSports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have yourself a great rest of the week. Happy 4th of July and happy Canada Day today. I really do appreciate everybody's support. I'll see you all Friday for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Definitely do like, share, tell everybody about Set Point. Tell all your volleyball friends about Set Point. Tell all your volleyball family about Set Point. Tell your volleyball teams about Set Point. What can I improve on? What can I do to help make this podcast better? Throw me some suggestions, anytime, anyplace, anywhere. Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have a great week, everybody. Peace!